He's the co-founder and CEO of two unicorns, Glean and Rubrik, and he chose to jump into a startup which, if I may say so, was invented by him and has been one of the most highest valued startups. And there are already big names in the AI industry who are kind of scared of him.
Everybody in the company was complaining about not being able to find things. And it was a problem that I personally faced always. My first instinct was to go and buy a product.
In 2019, you decided to jump into enterprise search, right? And at that time, that was literally a space that people literally called the graveyard. What kind of gave you the confidence to take that risk?
We started working with transformers when we started in early 2019. Um, at that time, the AI craze, the wave had not yet started. And nobody really knew about what transformers are. It wasn't relevant for most of the tech industry.
What would be your top three pieces of advice, if I may ask, for any AI startup founders who are listening to this podcast who are trying to break into the US or the global market?
5 years from now, we'll be laughing at like, oh wow, we had to do all those things manually before, because you won't do it anymore.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Llama Club Fireside Chat hosted by AI and Media House. The Llama Club is an invite-only platform for AI startup founders to help grow and scale globally. And today we have some of our founders and a very exciting conversation that is lined up ahead of us. I'm Anshika Matthews, and today we're getting into a conversation with someone who, according to my research, who people have called to be the king but doesn't want to be king, or doesn't prefer to be called king, but who always finds the right way to take the next step. He's the co-founder and CEO of two unicorns, Glean and Rubrik, and he chose to jump into a startup which, if I may say so, was invented by him and has been one of the most highest valued startups. And there are already big names in the AI industry who are kind of scared of him. Ladies and gentlemen, it's none other than Arvind Jain. Arvind, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Anshika. I'm doing well and really excited to be here.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Arvind, for joining us. And like I mentioned, today we are joined by a lot of AI startup founders globally who have been really excited for this conversation. And I owe it to them to maybe, just start with your journey. You've had a very influential journey for a lot of founders. You spent years at Google search and then you built Rubrik. And in 2019, you decided to jump into enterprise search, right? And at that time, that was literally a space that people literally called the graveyard. What kind of gave you the confidence to take that risk? And if my research is right, when you started Glean, that was the time that Glean did not really have a market. You had to build it from scratch. What made you do that? And if I can ask, so what would have made you walk away from it if that was an option given to you?
Yeah. Also, as you mentioned, we started Glean in 2019, and our goal was to build a really good search product. We wanted to make it easy for people to find information, to get answers to their questions while they are working inside the company. And the reason, it's a difficult area, uh, not a domain where there was any success for the last 20 or 30 years. Even mighty companies like Google failed to actually build a good product and a good business with search in the enterprise. But for me personally, this was one of the biggest problems that I faced at work, and always this was a big problem for us at Rubrik. It was a big problem for us even at Google, where we were working very hard to make it easy for everybody in the world to get answers to their questions, find information, but we would never serve ourselves internally inside the company. And at Rubrik, this problem was so big. We had lots of knowledge, lots of data inside our company, and people would really struggle. And we had a tough period of as we grew the company, we saw our productivity was dropping. People were not able to get as much work done as they used to be before when we were small. And one of the biggest reasons what they would actually tell us, in our pulse surveys was that they were not able to find any information at work that they needed to do their job. They're also not able to find the right people who could help them. inside the company. So people felt like not enabled and would struggle to get work done. So when I saw that everybody in the company was complaining about not being able to find things, and it was a problem that I personally faced always, um, my first instinct was to go and buy a product, a search product, because I'm a search engineer, as you mentioned, by training. And as part of that, we realized that there was no search product for businesses. And it was quite shocking to me because, businesses have a lot of information and they need it. So that's when I decided to actually start a company to solve this problem, because I knew I would be solving this problem not just for myself, but for every other person that I know. It was a big problem, and it didn't really matter to me, why businesses before us, didn't succeed. That was not really relevant to me. I saw there was a large problem at hand, and I wanted to solve it.
I've always wanted to ask you this, Arvind, but what made you
Mm.
choose the word Glean for your startup? Were there other names
Mm.
that were competing for it, or was Glean already in your mind?
No, it was not on my mind. In fact, we used to be called a different name. When I started the company, I picked a name. It was called SCIO, SCIO. And but that name, nobody liked it. I used to love that name. It actually meant knowledge in Latin, and so it was quite relevant to what we used to do. But the name was a flop, and so our team, they wanted to change it, and as part of that, we had a naming uh, party where people actually proposed names, and one of them came with, it was not me, somebody else came with the name Clean, and which was immediately the one that everybody in the company liked the most. So that's how we, chose it.
Well, now Glean is known by everyone. So thanks to that naming party for sure. Arvind, I think you were working with transformers way before the Chat GPT boom even came, right? And at a
Mhm.
time when applications were fairly limited, and at that time you mentioned that it gave about a 10 to 20% lift in in the performance at that time. Now, fast
Mhm.
forward to today, how central
Mhm.
are transformers to the quality of your product, right? And looking ahead, according to you, what do you see is the next breakthrough beyond not just scaling to a bigger model, but something that could fundamentally change what's possible? And that's because you've been in the space for a long time. You've worked with transformers way before it became even the thing now. Just wanted to know your thoughts about that too.
Yeah. So we started working with transformers when we started in early 2019. Um, at that time, the AI craze, the wave had not yet started. And nobody really knew about what transformers are. It wasn't relevant for most of the tech industry. But for search people, like initially the reason why Google built this technology was to make Google search better. We were trying to move beyond keyword search at Google and try to understand people's questions and knowledge that's some, in the world in a more conceptual manner, so that we could match it better with questions. So we already knew that transformers were making a big impact in how search worked, and that knowledge actually was helpful to us. And when we started to build our product, we did the same. There were these really amazing transformer models that were trained on all of the world's knowledge. Today, they will feel like a not so special. I mean, they're very small models, but they were still like, significant, at the time. Like it would truly change like how well you could actually do your search ranking. And so because it was relevant to the product that we're building, we used it in early 2019, and that actually made us the first enterprise Gen AI company in the world. Um, um, and the impact, I mean, I think the impact was significant, on day one, from transformers, but the technology just kept getting better and better over time, and so much so that it's no longer that, hey, like, are you getting 50%, 60% better performance or ranking in your search ranking. It's actually like has fundamentally changed what kind of products you can deliver to your users. So in 2019, we had one ability in our product, which was that you could come and ask a question, and yes, you could ask the question either by typing in a few words or give us a natural language based question, and we could then take all of your company's data and knowledge across hundreds of different systems, and we could identify the best the best information that matches your question, and we could surface it to you. But that's all we could do. We could surface information. We couldn't go beyond, because at the time, the transformers didn't have the ability to generate their own answers. They didn't have the ability to actually really think deeply or reason. But as those capabilities developed, it has allowed us to actually um, completely change how our product works. And today, when you look at Glean, it's more than search. First, you can think of it as a stronger, better version of ChatGPT inside your company. You come to Glean, it's a conversational AI assistant. You ask questions, you converse with it, and Glean will go one step further. It will actually still use our core search technology to find the right relevant information given your question, but then we'll use transformers to actually read that information, and give you the precise answer, as opposed to having you go and read those documents yourself. Um, and those capabilities. So that's sort of one example of how this technology allowed us to fundamentally change our product and give you now this more ChatGPT like experience. And of course, even before ChatGPT came into play, but the capabilities keep increasing, and today we think of Glean as a lot more than search or even a AI assistant. Now it's really a personal companion that you have at work, and you use it to ask questions, get answers, but you also use it to do some work. Like you can ask Glean to write reports, do analysis, like all kinds of things, with the power of AI. So AI is like now really fundamental to building like great knowledge access, or like work assistance, kind of products. Um, and and in terms of future, like uh, what's the next big breakthrough with AI? So there's going to be many, and of course the models themselves are going to keep getting better and better. But like let's put that aside for a minute and take the model technology that we have today and the really amazing thinking models that are out there, which actually no longer feel like technology. They actually feel like humans, that you're talking to. And this capability is incredible, and it's going to fundamentally, today we have not even used 5% of all the capabilities that these AI models are actually providing to us. So for technology companies that are building their technology on top of this model layer, there's a lot that they can engineer and build with the current capabilities of the models that we haven't built yet. So for example, even for us, um, we are a work assistant, right? We come and help users with their questions, with their tasks, but we're also relatively, reactive in nature, in the sense that, you have to come to Glean to ask questions or give it tasks, and then it'll do it for you. Um, but with the power of these models, the future could be very different, where you can think of Glean as a truly personal companion that always goes with you where you go. It listens to every word that you speak, every word that you'll hear. It's in all the systems that you are in, and it fully understands you as an individual and your work life. And with that knowledge, it can now actually be proactive. It can actually, it knows what your day looks like. It can actually help you get ready for the day in the morning. It can, if you have 20 things to do, it'll already do those 10 things for you before you even ask it to do those things. So that's the future that we are actually going to go for, where work is fundamentally going to change. How we work, most of the things that we today, I think 5 years from now, we'll be laughing at, like, oh wow, we had to do all those things manually before, because you won't do it anymore.
Uh, Arvind, firstly, huge congratulations on the funding that you all got this year in June. And I think one statement that you said was this funding was more of a statement than a necessity. right?
Mhm.
Well, got around 150 million at 7.2 billion valuation, which is huge. What did this round kind of allow you to do that cash flow wouldn't help you to do as such?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we are in this market where, AI is really, really big in its fundamental. Enterprises, the CEOs, they're all looking at what do we need to do today, because the world is transforming with AI, and it's going to transform so quickly, and everybody needs to be ready. And so it's top of mind concern for people. Every enterprise wants to go through an AI transformation, and they want to do it now. Um, and and for that, they need help. They need partners who they can rely on, who they can work with. Um, and and you have to like really put your faith into uh, product companies that you think are going to last, that are going to be around, that are going to be the AI leaders of the future, because it's such a big bet, and you don't want to make bets on companies that won't be around, because this is you fundamentally redefining and reshaping your own company, with this. So the largest enterprises in the world, they want to actually work with stable winners, of the enterprise AI market. And so for us, um, given that we are the pioneers, we started building, bringing transformers and generative AI into the enterprise before anybody else. It was also important for us to actually tell our the largest enterprises in the world that yes, we're going to be around. There's a lot of other competition, large players, um, but we have the lead. We are ahead of everybody else in terms of our product and technology. But we also have the power to last. That we're not going to run out of money, that and we have the recognition from the world's best investors, that we're a strong company. So that's sort of just like that it's an important thing to actually create that comfort among the minds of the leaders at the largest enterprise companies, and that's one of the things that sometimes these funding rounds also actually help you provide.
Yeah. Uh, like you were just mentioning, Arvind, and just like a follow-up, right? You started out
Mm.
doing search, but now
Mhm.
you talk about Glean as the enterprise brain, right? That powers your
Yeah,
flows and agents. In
yeah.
future, how do you see that playing out? Are you here to kind of complement systems like you have competitors like ServiceNow or Workday, or your plan is to eventually maybe replace them?
Yeah. So we are a work AI platform. Like, you think of us as the main thing that Glean does is we build really good integrations into all of our enterprise systems. And our goal for doing, why do we do it? We do it so that we can understand how your enterprise works. What are your people doing inside the company? What are their key jobs and tasks? and and how they actually perform those tasks. And we're trying to actually learn all of that. Um, in some ways, think of a Glean as we are bringing the collective human intelligence of your enterprise in one place. We understand what your business is about. We understand the key jobs to be done. We understand who are the people who do those jobs or those tasks, and we understand like what they do to actually come, like what are the steps they take, how does any particular job or task gets done in your company, how people work. And we're building all of those observations inside your company by integrating with all these other technology systems and noticing and observing people's activity inside those systems. And the idea behind all of that is that now, as you start to think about AI and take a lot of your work that your people do today, and you want to actually automate them with AI, or at least, or do at least part of it with AI, you want to be able to actually use those observations, how people have done those tasks before. So when a new task comes in, you want to be able to say that, well, I've seen, this person actually did something similar to to this task that I have right now. And those are the 10 things that they did. Those are 10 steps they took. And if you provide all of that context to AI, then the AI models can then start to think and actually do a much better job completing that task for you now. So that's what we are about. So we are, yeah, think of us as a system of intelligence, a system of context. And the, in terms of like, will we replace these products? I don't think so. ServiceNow, Workday, all of these systems, they are very fundamental to businesses. They are the system of records. There's a lot of enterprise, record keeping, that happens, inside those. And our job is to actually work really, really well with those systems. We have a strong partnership, for example, with Workday that we announced in our first user conference that we did earlier this year. And we are also going to be at their conference next week, at Workday Rising. So this is, I mean, Glean is actually, in that sense, not replacing any system. Like, you'll continue to have all those systems, but what we will do is we'll actually um, help an enterprise leverage those systems even more, and like stitch things together so that as a human inside the enterprise, you can actually work much better in the new way as AI becomes bigger and bigger part of our work life.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Arvind. Um, so, like I mentioned, we are joined by a lot of AI founders today, right? And most AI founders aspire to build for the global market, especially with the US, being their primary focus. You've
Yeah.
managed to scale successfully at that level. Uh, I think that's a question from all founders, right? How did you achieve it? And what would be your top three pieces of advice, if I may ask, for any AI startup founders who are listening to this podcast who are trying to break into the US or the global market? What should they kind of do to scale the way that you did?
Yeah. So I would note that Glean is a multinational company. And what I mean by that simply is that we have a lot of folks here in San Francisco and Bay Area, and we also have a big team in Bangalore. And today is the time when you can actually have companies with teams that are split across different parts of the world. And actually that helps a lot. It helps a lot to have a globally distributed team like that, because number one, it allows you to actually understand, all those markets, where your teams are, and makes it easier for you to sell in those markets. Number two, you can actually also support your customers in a 24/7 model, because you have people always awake, like if anything goes wrong, to help your customers. So with that said, for a company that has gotten started, like let's say in India, in Bangalore or Delhi, um, the to be able to build a business in the US, you should have some people there. And so you should hire, whether it's your business people, whether it's, some, technologists as well. Like ensure that, you have those, feet on the ground. Um, Number two, the because it's like software models have actually shifted over the years, and in many ways, when I go and buy a product today, uh, I maybe go to Google and ask a question about, like, look, I'm looking for a sales, lead platform or a sales data enrichment platform. I'm going to do a search online. I'm going to find, some good demos, and then I'm going to actually make a purchase. And and so which actually makes things easier, like in the sense that it didn't matter to me, where that company was actually, where that company runs from. And so if you have the ability to build great online presence, if you actually are able to build products that people can try on their own, self-serve themselves, and and actually, leverage the PLG model, that is actually uh, probably even faster way for you to get our customers globally. and this, it's obvious to everyone, like, the not any it's not a special advice. It's just if your product allows you to build PLG, you should do it. That's what unlocks great velocity. Our product, by the way, doesn't. So, like, it's always something that I've desired, but, like, we find it difficult because of how involved, a search product is in the business. It becomes hard to deliver it on, in a PLG form. Um, and then the last thing that I would say is, again, the team. Like, when you, most of the startup founders they tend to be, um, I would say, younger, and don't have enough experience in the industry, and because great ideas do come from young people. They're not sort of shackled by years and years of thinking. But I think it's a really good, if you're like that, like, if you feel like you don't have enough experience of the markets of the industry, I mean, just complement yourself, with the right business leaders who have a lot of experience, and hire those people in the US. So, anyways, those are some of the things I would say are important. But those are all tactical things. Fundamentally, I would say the success is often a it depends on ambition. And so when you start a company, sometimes, and I used to have this thinking myself, as a technical person. Oftentimes, I was saying that, oh, well, I can build a cool product and it'll be valuable. And then hopefully I can find some large company to buy that technology. I'll get acquired. And when you start with that mindset, then then you actually don't focus on, for example, building those sales and business teams that I was talking about, because you're trying to actually become part of a larger company, quickly get acquired. Uh, and so your ambition was not large enough. And that would actually prevent you from building a great large company. So that's the main thing. Like, if you really want to be big, then you have to actually think, big, and be ambitious in terms of how you think about your goals and set them. So that's the number one. Like, that's sort of independent of somebody being in India or here. Um, how big you're going to be, it's a function of how big your dream is.
I think that will work really well for all the founders who are listening to us. Just coming back quickly, Arvind, to your third tactical thing when you said to hire, experienced leaders. And I was just coming, that was my
Mm.
next question, because right now there's a lot of anxiety around AI taking over your jobs. A lot of Stanford students are also rethinking if they should take computer science as a stream itself, right? According
Mhm.
to you, what skills will matter most in an AI first workplace? And I ask that also because we have founders who are constantly hiring. What should they look at while hiring? And personally, for you, when you hire, do you have an IIT biases, or what is something that you kind of take in account while hiring?
Yeah. Um, like, we don't have an IIT bias as such, but I mean, I think my network, people who I know, tend to be from there because I'm from there. So it is true that at Glean, we have a lot of folks from the IITs. Um, in terms of, like, what skills would matter and who we look for, I don't think much is changing. Like, for example, in terms of when we recruit, when we try to hire people, we're still trying to find folks who are, um, number one, like, folks who are, who have an ambition, um, who want to actually succeed, who want to actually do good work and prove themselves. Um, we're looking for good team players, folks who, while they're really good themselves, they also are good collaborators and like to work with others. Um, and depending on the kind of job they're going to do. And we do have a bias towards people who are technologists in all roles, in our company. Like, I prefer, um, we love for I think is really important in the world, and it has been true with or without this latest AI craze. There's a lot of data, there's a lot of information in the world today, and 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 I think having strong analytical capabilities, having the ability to look at data, lots of information, synthesize insights from it. These are very important skills. They have been over the last decade. There will be important skills for the future. So those are the things we look for. So as such, like our interview processes have not changed. We're not looking for different skills. AI is a technology um, that all of us are going to actually learn how to use. And it'll be like calculator, we all figure out how to learn it, right? It'll be like internet, we all figure out how to use it. So that doesn't really change much. But AI is actually giving us an ability today because of how big of a shift it is in terms of how there are a lot of technologies out there today, but this one is very different. Like this doesn't feel like technology. This actually feels like magic or it feel more human than a machine. And but it's actually giving us some interesting abilities to actually improve our hiring process. So one of the things that we do now is when we look for a person in marketing or sales or technology, we actually do check how familiar the person is with AI. And with that I don't mean hey, do they understand transformers or the fundamental technology behind it, or like are they building some of those systems? No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about, have they actually used ChatGPT? Are they actually using it actively in their day-to-day work? Because if you're not embracing AI right now, it actually shows that you're too stuck in your ways of doing things and you're not willing to change. And willing to change and adapt with times is one of the most important skills that you should be looking for in a person. So I think it's just instead of us thinking about new skills, it just gave us one extra thing to test on, which is are we we know who's a um who's who has that learning mindset, who's actually willing to keep their eyes and ears open and learn how to leverage this technology. So that's become an important part of our interview exercise. So that's sort of my take. And then in terms of how should people think about their careers, what should they learn? Is there something different, should they go and do a uh major in computer science? I don't think any of that changes. I think education, even computer science, when you go and read that, that's what I actually did when I was many, many years back. You have to read a lot. You have to actually in, college programs, they will often, um, uh, they'll be very well-rounded. You will, even if you're studying computer science, you still have to take physics courses and math courses and all of that. So I think I think you take the majors that you see fit, but make sure that you're using AI as much and are trying to change your habits and develop that instinct that any new piece of work that you have to do, the first thing you're going to do is see how well does AI do that for you, or how can it actually help you in it. And so that's what even for me it took some time, but now that is my instinct, is is that I won't actually start a new project. I won't write a new document, without AI first helping me first on it.
Yeah. Arvind, I'll just ask my last question. I'm sure a lot of founders are waiting for me to end. Like you were just mentioning, AI is moving quite fast, and we have to
Mm,
unlearn and learn as we go about it. And the hype of
mm,
it comes and goes as we speak. What
mm.
gives you the confidence that Glean won't just be a useful tool today, right? But something that enterprises will still rely on it maybe a decade from now? What is something that kind of keeps you going along with Glean?
Yeah. Um, so first, as I said, you have to dream big to achieve big, and we have big dreams. Um, we want to be a very key player in enterprise AI. We want to be one of the largest companies in the world. We want to redefine, or we want to define the human AI interface and be fundamental to how work happens in the future. Glean's vision is to build this truly personal work companion, personal companion that everybody gets at work, um, and which is sort of like, in some ways your digital twin, or more like, it's such a close companion, um, which actually does 90% of your work for you in the future. And I think to get there, there's a lot of work that needs to happen. So we start with a big dream, and now you have a big, set of tasks and roadmap to actually to work on, build that technology on. And my fundamental belief um, is is that I don't think you have to worry too much as a startup founder. You don't have to worry too much about, oh, what about, that other one, that large company here or there, like, will what happens, if they also build a product like ours, how will we compete? I think it's irrelevant. Like, that doesn't, I think if you keep working hard, you stay on your mission, and put in, that energy, build the right team, and keep going at your mission without giving up. Oftentimes you will win against others. History is a proof that um, all innovation typically happens at startups. New products get built, from new companies, um, and and so that gives us that same confidence that we will also we'll succeed because we're going to work hard.
I'm sure you will, Arvind. And I think history is also proof how fast you'll have come to this stage. So I'm sure even 10 years from now, I hope I can get on a podcast with you and talk about the same. But that's my time with you, Arvind. We have some founders who are waiting to ask some questions. So
Mhm.
what I will do is request everyone who has joined in maybe can just tell their name and from where, which startup they are, and just maybe do a quick one-liner question which Arvind can quickly answer. And yeah, then we can go forward with that. We just have, say, 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes of Arvind's time, so we can have that quickly. Thank you. Please feel free to use the chat box in case, yeah, Pratik, if we can have Pratik unmuted. Yes, Pratik, I
Okay.
think we can hear you.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Hey, Arvind, thanks a lot for this session and thanks, Aim, for bringing this up. Really loved the insights that you have shared. So Arvind, we are so basically we are building Craftify. It's a GenAI powered platform that automates the software for embedded product development. And we think that a large part of our customer base resides in US as well because of how the technological advancements are happening on the electronic side of things, specifically on the robotics, drones, or AI cameras and all of that. So just want to double click on the points that you touched upon. What point in time do you think? So we are a company based in Bangalore, building from there for the last 1 year, and now planning to, because we've acquired a couple of customers in US. Now we just figuring out that what's the right moment and point in time wherein we should definitely, start setting up the team there so that they can, reach out to larger bases, which we are not as of now because of the geographical restrictions. What do you think is the right time when, one should really enter?
I mean, do it now if you have the product that actually is working. You have a couple of customers, as you said already. So I don't see any reason that you need to wait. It's all about, I think the like oftentimes, it's not even like, sometimes, you start building the team before your product is fully baked, before it's actually fully working because you have a plan, that in 3 months it's going to be working. And,
Yeah.
sales and acquiring customers also take time. So yeah, so do it now.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks, Arvind.
Thanks
Yeah.
for that question. If anyone else does not have, there's one in the chat. Arvind, the question is if OpenAI or Anthropic release models with near infinite context windows, making them capable of handling a billion doc enterprise corpus without much infra, does Glean's moat collapse? Or are you betting that AI infra glue is more valuable than the models themselves?
Yeah. The models have been getting better progressively every few months, and and it actually is true that as those models get better, some of the things that we do as a software layer that sits above the model layer, some of those capabilities are now part of the model's core capabilities already. So we have to actually retire those part of our technology stack because we don't need them anymore. But that's the world that you live in, where AI moves so fast, and whatever product you build, you have to have that mindset of throwing things away as those capabilities become part of your underlying technology providers, whether it's the model providers, whether it is the cloud providers like Google or AWS or Microsoft. And but when you think about so we Glean actually sits on top of the innovation that the model providers are bringing. And so as the model providers sort of go up, we have to actually build more things, and we also have to keep going above and above in terms of our technology stack. But the good thing is that there's no ceiling in sight, because today, with all said and done, AI is actually still pretty limited. It has not made people twice as more effective. Forget, making them 10 times or 50 times more effective, which is, which is where we're going to be heading in the future. So there's no ceiling for us as more and more, capabilities develop, as model context windows get larger. It's actually very good for Glean. We actually get like a lot more intelligence that can allow us to create product experiences that are phenomenal, and experiences that we couldn't create just with our own innovation. So we are very that's not a risk for us. That's actually a benefit for us, because we get to leverage those technology improvements.
Yeah. Arun, there one more good question. It is Perplexity is already reimagining consumer search with conversational answers and real-time web contexts. If enterprises start trusting Perplexity for internal knowledge too, what stops them from bypassing Glean altogether? So do you see Perplexity like a threat, or is Glean betting that consumer-first search will never really translate into an enterprise trust?
Yeah, I mean, these are two fundamentally different problems. I've worked on consumer search at Google for over a decade, and the the problem of search on the web is so different from solving search and question answering in the enterprise. Like, everything from, like, on the web, you have so much information, so much data, it's all public, everybody can see everything. Inside, enterprises, uh, you also have lots of knowledge, but not at the scale of the web. So oftentimes, the signals that you need to do ranking are very different in the enterprise compared to on the web. But then a lot of content in the enterprise is governed and secure in nature. For example, I may have a document that only me, the CEO, and my CFO have access to in the company, and we don't want a search product like to make those documents available to everybody else in the company as well. So you have to actually think about permissioning, governance, data controls when you build a safe search and AI experience inside the business. Um, and so these are very different problems. Everybody, like, I think on a theoretical question of can Google come in and build the same product like us? And of course, in many of these companies are already doing that. Companies like Google, OpenAI, Microsoft, they're all Amazon. Like, I think they're all building a product like Glean because they saw our success and they see how critical a product and infrastructure like Glean is to making AI work in the enterprise. So they're all coming after us. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of competition, but like, yeah, you like the way you, as I said before, you win because you are going to work harder. You're going to put more focus on that problem. And for Glean, the good thing is that first, like, we have a 4 to 5 year lead on anybody else out there, because we started 6.5 years back. Everybody else is waking up to this market only in the last 1 or 2 years. So we have a lot of lead. And And also, we are the largest pure play enterprise AI company in the world right now. We have over 1,000 people. And so we're investing more than anybody else in this. Um, and so there's no reason for us to lose with that lead, with that investment, and with that focus.
Maybe I'll take this as the last question, considering the time. We have Swaraj, who has asked, how do you see conventional SaaS sales changing post LLM or GPT boom in US, or is it still largely the same?
So right now, there is not a big change that is happening. Like things move slowly, and things do move slow in the US, relatively. The Especially in the large enterprises, because there's a lot of change management. You can't like just go suddenly, go and replace all the SaaS systems with, new AI powered, applications that you build with AI agent building platforms like Glean. Um, the uh, but like if you look a little bit like longer term, medium term, there is going to be a big change that's going to be coming, in terms of SaaS and SaaS sales. One of the things that we think is going to change is today, like as an enterprise, you buy a lot of different SaaS products to ultimately run all of your business processes inside the company. So you have this technology stack is largely products that you buy, and then some of them you can customize, or you can have those same SaaS companies, help implement, set up those systems inside your company. Um, but but every business is sort of bespoke in nature. Like you have very unique way of doing things. Like, how, for example, you approve invoices or expense reports. Like every company has their own unique policies, unique constraints. And and oftentimes, you feel this need for customization that is hard with SaaS products. And what AI is allowing you to do is it's making it a lot more easier for you as a customer to actually go and build the system that you want yourself, like as opposed to relying uh, on some vendor for every small piece of technology that you need. So that capability to self-build systems is increasing at a very fast pace because of AI. So we do see um, some risk for you know, uh, point solutions in SaaS. So like if there were products that were doing a very narrow slice of a business problem, and they were sort of built on top of these major systems of records like Workday or ServiceNow or Salesforce. Some of those SaaS products, may find it hard to actually grow because businesses will be able to build really amazing AI applications on top of their core system of records themselves with AI. So there is a disruption that is coming for SaaS for sure in the future.
Um, One last question from our end, Arvind, would be, I think there is a lot of importance that I think community itself for startup founders, uh, people are joining communities. How do you think that is important right now? Do you think a community for startup founders, AI startup founders specifically, to scale, to kind of network, how important are such communities right now?
It's super important. In fact, actually, I should also be joining one of those. It's a good, like that's a good insight, because
Llama
I'm
Club
not part
is
of one.
here for you in
Yeah.
case. Arvind.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so important because when things change so rapidly, so fast, it's hard to keep up. Like because you as a startup founder, like you are actually always like, sort of have this tunnel vision. You go deep, you're deep into like, the problems that you're trying to solve for your own startup, and you oftentimes miss out on all the big trends that are relevant to you and like which should actually make you change course or path on many different things. So I think having a community where you can go and observe and like where people can share that, hey, like I found this great tool and now I don't need to actually recruit, for this particular function anymore. Like, having that is sort of super important to actually, like help you shape and design your company. So absolutely, so that's something that every founder should be doing.
We've gotten a lot of requests already in the chat for you to come for our offline mixer during the Bangalore AIM mixers that we host and the events that we host. If ever you're in Bangalore, we already have our audience waiting for you, Arvind. But Arvind, that's our time. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think they were wonderful insights. And I think for all the startup founders who've joined, they've gotten some great insights on how they can build, how they can scale, and much more. And to hear your journey up front has been an honor, especially for me. Thank you so much, Arvind, once again for joining. I would just request another 5 minutes with you if you can stay with us at the call. While if I can request all the other founders, thank you so much for joining the call and for putting in your questions for Arvind. Thank you so much for joining. If y'all could give us some time with Arvind, that would be great. Thank you so much for everyone who joined. Arvind, if you
And thank you for this. Yeah.
yeah.
It was a lot of fun.